Hi, Chalice here. Stardate 44323.1915, May 7th, Friday, May 7th, 2021 at approximately 7:15 p.m. So let's talk a little bit about the role of the president, not the person in the office, but the office itself, what the office itself was designed to do. Um, and what do you think that the president's job is? Somebody's got to run that office, so it doesn't matter who's in there. But what do you think the job is? Because the job is not dependent on who's in there. Doesn't matter if it's an R&D, Pepsi, Coke. The job is the job. Just like if you had a job to do data processing. It doesn't matter the person. The job is the job. Whether or not the person can properly do the job is a whole nother matter, but you have a data processing job and that's the job. And then you can have several people in there depending on, who does a better job. But anyway, that's the whole point. It's not the person, it's the office, it's the job. So what's the role? What is the president's job to do? It is to represent the entire country as a whole, not the people individually, but the country as a union of states, and that's why the president reports to the Senate, because the senates are elected by the states. The senates represent the states, so the president represents the union as a whole. In what manner? In foreign affairs. In areas where it is advantageous to have the whole country as a whole be represented, rather than having each individual state having to make an agreement with another country. The president does that on behalf of the states. And then it has to go to the Senate before anything can be approved. So don't want to get too detailed into that part. We can, exactly what the tasks are. Is very limited, and that is to affect their job applies outside of the states in foreign affairs and foreign relations. Has very little to do with with the goings on of the country and individual states and individual people. And this is where I wanted to get to. The president is not. The job of the president is not to take care of the people at all. That is not the job. It is not the job to take care of the money. It is only the job to represent in foreign affairs outside the country. So don't get caught up in the hoopla. President is this, president is that, going to do this, going to do that. None of it matters. It's all meaningless and it's all invalid. Because the president has no authority to affect the citizens of the United States. So even in agencies, the only place for executive orders are those agencies is like under the president, presidential agencies, executive agencies is the correct word. So an executive order would basically mean like company policy. That's all. That's the only effect they would have. And even company policy has limits too. So just like and you work in a company, they have their company policy, and there are limits there too. There are some things they can't force you to cause harm to yourself, for example. That's no matter what, so don't get caught up in the hoopla. Step off the merry-go-round and recover from being all this dizziness going on, and then you can see that it really is just a theater. It's just a show, like a movie. That's really all it is. We bought the tickets, we bought into the movie, and then like any other movie, once you get out, you realize, oh, well, that's just a movie. You felt the emotions during the movie, but when you get out, the movie's over. And really, this movie is more like a horror movie. Certainly no rom-com here. Anyway, so it's and it's up to us. We are the boss. We are the boss of the president. Um, there's that old childhood phrase that you're not the boss of me, and that's true. The president is not the boss of us. We are the boss of the president by contract. By contract. So it is up to us to make the difference. Not every 4 years. That doesn't make any difference, obviously. But it's up to us to make the difference. So how you do that? That's a whole nother. Starting to get into those details is a whole nother. We could go for hours on that one, but do know what to do. Just think. Just ask. What can I do to help make a difference? All it takes is a number of people, 10% of the population, to start saying no. So the once you realize what a theater is, and you also can learn. You can learn that the government exists at the sufferance of the people. Like I said, we are the boss. They're the president or the government is not the boss of us. We are the boss of them. They exist at the sufferance of the people. You know those phrases, by the people, for the people? Yeah. Where do you think that comes from? What do you think that means? So the government exists at the sufferance of the people, and they do not exist to better themselves. That's not their job. And that's why the government authority is highly limited. So if the authority is really limited, we just keep letting them get away with it. So but if just like if they keep giving themselves authority, so really, how legitimate can that authority be that they gave themselves that was not allowed? If you give yourself an authority that you're not allowed to have, how legitimate is your authority? Basically none. Like you have an employee doing data processing, and he or she suddenly decides one day that, well, there's a lot of money going into here. I'm going to give myself check signing authority, and start signing checks. How do you think that's going to go over? What do you think will happen? You'll have to give her the pink slip, or him, whoever will have to be given the pink slip. So, and then what happens if you do nothing? Right? Like we're not doing anything to curtail this rampant excess authority, usurped authority. So what do you think would happen if you do nothing about the employee who gives him or herself check writing authority, check signing authority? Your bank account's not going to stay full for very long, is it? So again, it's up to us, and the best way to ensure that things happen that you don't like is to do nothing. Now, it's hard to do things, very hard, and it's very hard to keep pushing, and you feel like you're batting your head against the wall all the time. But you got to keep at it. You got to keep at it. And like the little critters, you see the little ants, moving a grain of sand every once in a while. Before you know it, several hours later, they have themselves a whole hive built. Really, if you do nothing and you just keep letting the government take care of you, they're going to control you. They control us now, really. All they have to do is say jump, and then we come back and say, from which cliff? So stand. Find something to do. Make something up to do that they probably wouldn't want you to do, but do something. We'll stop there. Find something to do. That's peaceful. Don't be hard on anything. Find something that's peaceful. And so, Every day, find a way to always stay courageous.